Everyone cheered, urging my girlfriend to kiss her white moonlight. Not only did she not refuse, she deepened the kiss with my girlfriend in her arms. The scene erupted in cheers. I questioned her why she did that. She looked at me with a disdainful curl of her lips and an eye roll. Be generous. It's just a game. I clenched my fist in anger, but wore a smile. What else do you want to eat? Order whatever you like. After paying 1,000 yuan for a banquet that cost hundreds of thousands, I left. Ding, the system reminded. Completed the simp task, 500 million yuan has been credited. Half a year ago, I accidentally picked up a phone and triggered a true love system. After submitting my name and Xing Man's, it showed that I was a backup and a simp. I didn't believe it, so I made a bet with the system. If I spent 5 million on my goddess and she turned back to me, the system would lose 500 million, and I would get 500 million. I didn't care about the money because I loved Xing Man very much. She was just a bit playful, and I believed that she would settle down after we got married. Xing Man was the goddess I had been pursuing for 5 years, and she finally agreed to be my girlfriend a year ago after my relentless pursuit. Before we even held hands, she demanded that I hand over my salary card. I always spoiled her and fawned over her. Even if I didn't want to, I didn't argue and obediently handed over my salary card. She took advantage of my feelings to buy houses and cars for her white moonlight. Even when I found out a few days ago that she was secretly transferring my assets, I still firmly believed that she would love me one day. Today, holding on to the last glimmer of hope, I meticulously dressed up for 2 hours, holding flowers and carrying the engagement ring I had prepared half a year in advance. I came to her birthday banquet. I stood at the door of the private room and saw through the crack that Xing Man had lost at truth or dare. Her friends were egging her on to kiss her white moonlight. Linja. She was a little tipsy, her face flushed, and she hesitated whether or not to go over. Suddenly, Linja stepped forward and embraced Xing Man. The cheering intensified. They were pounding on the table. Kiss, kiss. Amid the loud cheering, Xing Man raised her hand and hooked her fingers into his dark short hair, kissing him hard. At this time, the door was pushed open by a waiter. Everyone saw me at the door, and their faces showed surprise. They all knew about my relationship with Xing Man. Xing Man was momentarily surprised, but her face quickly turned cold. What are you looking at? Be generous, it's just a game. Xing Man's best friend, Ran, seemed to find it unbearable and tried to dissuade her. Man, little Lou is at least. Xing Man interrupted her impatiently. Just a simp. Her voice was deliberately lowered, but everyone present could hear it. I'm a simp, then don't spend my money. Return all the money you spent of mine before. Lu Qingjing, what nonsense are you talking about? You took the initiative to pay before. Weren't you just trying to show off your masculine charm? I was giving you a chance. While scolding me, Xing Man subconsciously glanced at Linja. When she saw that he didn't react, she breathed a sigh of relief. I pursed my lips and anger surged in my chest. When I was in college, I fell in love with Xing Man at first sight when she was handing out flyers in the scorching heat. She couldn't even afford to go to school, so I funded all her expenses for 4 years of college. After graduation, she never worked a single day. I supported her. Without me, would she be able to come to a 5-star hotel and drink wine and liquor as she pleases? Ding, the system reminded. Host, stay calm. You have already spent 4,999,000 yuan for your goddess. You only need to spend another 1,000 yuan to complete the simp task and receive 500 million yuan. I clenched my fist in anger but wore a smile. Baby, I was wrong. I was talking nonsense. I finally understood. She was a dog that couldn't be tamed. I had fawned over her for a year, and I was just an ATM to her. Xing Man's slender eyes were undisguised with contemptuous laughter. The pleasure of having me in her grasp made her even more smug. Hurry up and pay the bill. I saw the bill of over tens of thousands and left after putting down 1,000 yuan. Ding, the system reminded. Congratulations, host. You have completed the simp task and obtained 500 million yuan. As soon as I walked out of the hotel, Xing Man's mother called. Lu Qingjing, why aren't you here yet? Your uncles have been waiting for a long time. Xing Man's mother's impatient voice came over the phone. Xing Man's mother always looked down on me and never gave me a pleasant face. However, for Xing Man's sake, even when she insulted me to the point of being unbearable, I was always respectful to her. Originally, after a successful proposal, I had planned to bring Xing Man and her parents together to discuss the betrothal gifts and set a wedding date. After hanging up the phone, I immediately drove my 7 million Rolls-Royce and parked it in the most conspicuous spot in the complex. I had just stepped inside the door, not even sat down yet, when Mrs. Xing dropped a list of betrothal gifts. You're here. We've already calculated the betrothal gifts. It wasn't easy raising Man, so 1 million for betrothal gifts is the minimum. Also, your eldest and second uncles need to get wives and buy new houses. So give each of them 1 million. We'll skip the bride's wedding and just give 500,000. With gold jewelry and a car, that's about 5 million. Annie, 5 million is too little. I was originally planning to give 10 million as a betrothal gift. I took out my phone to show them the text message confirming 500 million had been deposited into my account. The eyes of everyone in the room lit up instantly. They weren't just bright, but were practically red with jealousy. Well, that's even better. Mrs. Xing showed a rare smile. Her eldest uncle quickly chimed in. Man only has these 2 younger brothers. We can't lose face, can we? My son's wedding house needs to be at least 2 million. Her second uncle wasn't to be outdone. Although my son is still in school, he also grew up watching Xing Man, and he'll get married someday too, so his wedding house needs to be 2 million as well. I put on a heartbroken expression. Sigh, 10 million is no problem, but Man wants to break up with me. Maybe I'm not good enough. Anyone seeing a big spender leaving would surely be heartbroken. I had to be humbled to the point of being in the dust for them to turn on each other. Mrs. Xing patted my shoulder. It's okay, son-in-law. Mom will take charge of this. I gave a mocking laugh. They didn't treat me like a person before, but now that they've seen my money, they're calling me son-in-law so enthusiastically. You get back here right now. Mrs. Xing immediately dialed Xing Man's number. Mom, I'm out having fun. Having fun has its limits. Come back right now and apologize to young Master Lu. Mom, you're probably getting senile. Why should I apologize to him? He's just a lapdog. I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going to go to a hotel with Linja. Although Mrs. Xing was standing by the window, I could clearly hear Xing Man's disdainful voice on the phone. Son-in-law, Man said she'll go find you tomorrow and apologize. Heh, they really know how to put on a show for me. Fine, I'll play along with you all. I drove around aimlessly and happened to see a bar, so I decided to go in for a bit. Just as I sat down, I saw Xing Man's best friend, Ran, seemingly being drugged and being dragged out of the bar like a dead pig by 2 men. Xing Man, on the other hand, was lounging with her legs crossed, swirling her wine glass, and watching it all happen with a mocking expression. Looks like there's going to be a good show. The next day, in a hotel room, Ran suddenly sat up. She looked down at herself under the covers, relieved to find herself unharmed. Ran wasn't exactly a beauty, but her profile was very attractive, giving off a faint sense of purity. I heard that her family was well off, and she was a socialite best friend of Xing Man's that she had met at a high-end beauty salon. How is it you? Ran looked at me in shock as I sat on the sofa. Why can't it be me? No, I blacked out yesterday. What happened? You didn't black out from drinking. You were drugged. As I spoke, I opened a video on my phone. Last night, I had someone give those 2 men a good beating, and they confessed everything, and it was recorded on video. After watching the video, Ran clenched her fists in anger, her nails drawing blood from her arms. Xing Man, you bitch, I treated you like a best friend, and you betrayed me. I really hadn't expected Xing Man to be so cruel. She was all best friends during the day, but sold her out at night. I asked the front desk to send up some iodine and cotton swabs and applied iodine to her bleeding arm. It's not worth hurting yourself for someone like her. Aren't you in love with Xing Man? She has nothing to do with me anymore. How about we try? As she spoke, Ran traced my chest with her finger, her eyes filled with flattery. Try what? I pushed her hand away in disgust. What kind of woman couldn't I have? I wasn't interested in anyone close to Xing Man. I saved Ran because I couldn't stand Xing Man bullying people, and also for the sake of her having said some good things about me to Xing Man. Of course, by being together. Whether it's family background or education, I'm better than Xing Man by more than a little. If you're trying to repay me, there's no need. After saying that, I grabbed my suit jacket and left. As I stepped out of the elevator, I suddenly felt a little soft-hearted and asked the front desk to send her breakfast and hangover soup. I returned home and soaked in the bathtub, drinking red wine, listening to classical music, my thoughts settling down. The tense nerves seemed to relax a lot. President Liu, Miss Xing used the card you gave her to pay the bill yesterday, but it seems the money wasn't enough, and she ended up pawning the Hermes you gave her. Do you need to? I interrupted the assistant. No need. Has the villa I ordered for 3 months ago been delivered? Although I loved Xing Man to death, I hadn't neglected my career at all. Xing Man's family background wasn't good. I was afraid she'd feel pressured, so I didn't tell her my real identity, only that I was a second-generation demolisher, and then I transferred 100,000 yuan to her salary card every month. The delivery and contract signing is in the next 2 days. Do you need to notify Miss Xing? No. If Xing Man wants it, she will come to find me naturally. She tried everything to climb up to Linja, but she only set her sights on him because he was the future heir of the Lin family, a bastard child at that. With the Liu family status in Kyoto, crushing Linja is a piece of cake. For 3 consecutive days, there was no news from Xingman, but Ran Ran came to my door. Today, Ran Ran was dressed very maturely and sexily, completely unable to display her pure and cute beauty. I saw Xingman's shadow on her. Even her makeup was very similar. Xingman was a sexy beauty, while Ran Ran was cute. The two together made me feel very strange. Do you need something? I wonder, President Liu, how have you considered my suggestion last time? Do you know what you were talking about? Silly girl, rushing like this is very dangerous. Actually, I liked you long ago, I just didn't want to compete with Xingman. I am sincere. I sneered and didn't speak. I'm not stupid. Of course I know Ran Ran likes me. The kind of look in the eyes, the light, only appears when looking at a lover. But I don't like her. The phone suddenly rang. It was Xingman. Liu Qingjing, are you coming today for the villa delivery? Xingman's tone was unusually gentle. 3 o'clock. Okay, you don't need to come pick me up. I'll go directly there. I don't want the neighbors to misunderstand anything. She wants both the benefits and the reputation. Ran Ran heard my phone call, her head lowered sadly, and was about to leave when I grabbed her. The slap in the face came so quickly. President Liu, help me with a favor, consider it paying off a debt. Ran Ran seemed very excited, bouncing and jumping around, which was really cute. I was even enjoying it a little. At 2:50, the sales manager saw me come in with Ran Ran. He was first surprised, then very enthusiastically led me to the VIP room. More than a dozen sales ladies followed behind, pouring tea and water. President Liu, the villa has been decorated. Does Miss Xing need to come for the acceptance inspection? I was about to speak when a figure rushed in. It was Xingman. She was still sexy and charming, making it impossible to take my eyes off her. The strawberry marks on her neck seemed to have been deliberately covered with foundation, but unfortunately, they weren't completely hidden. Qingjing, you don't need to bring my best friend to show off that you're giving me a villa. Xingman had a smile on her face and emphasized the words best friend deliberately. Ran Ran took my arm. Of course my boyfriend is buying a house for me. This girl was more proactive than me, not giving me a chance to perform. Xingman was stunned for a moment, and then noticed that Ran Ran and I were holding hands. She immediately became furious. Ran Ran, you are shameless, so despicable for money. The onlookers were the happiest, and they all perked up their gossip ears. Ran Ran was also a veteran of the scene. She didn't panic at all and said, do you think I need it? The Ran family has shares in this development. Xingman's face was as ugly as if she had eaten shit. Liu Qingjing is my boyfriend. You are stealing my boyfriend and have the nerve to stand here. Do you have any shame? You eat his, drink his, and even call him a simp. I advised you to cherish him, but you didn't listen. Didn't you say Linja was your true love? How could I be the mistress? The crowd gasped again. I couldn't help but applaud Ran Ran in my heart. It was simply delightful. How could I have been so stupid to only see this now? Ran Ran added another blow. Now he's my boyfriend, and he said he's going to give me a villa. Are you here to buy a villa too? As expected of Ran Ran, she attacked continuously, leaving Xingman caught off guard and speechless. Xingman looked at me with teary eyes, a pitiful sight seeking refuge. If it were the past, I would have felt sorry for her and given her everything. But now I especially want to watch the show. Xingman suddenly reached out and shook my suit jacket, acting coquettish. Qingjing, you must still be mad at me. I'm sorry I went overboard playing games at the birthday banquet. I was wrong. Can you forgive me? Every time she acted coquettish like this, I would instantly become a lapdog. I'm such a loser. I know you got Ran Ran here to make me jealous, to make me eat vinegar. Didn't you say you'd buy a villa for me as our wedding house? I only found out later that you were proposing to me on my birthday, and now I accept your proposal. Everyone's eyes turned to me. I leisurely sat on the leather sofa, lit a cigar, took a deep puff, and then slowly exhaled. All right, take off one piece for 100,000. Take it all off, and I'll give you the villa. Xingman didn't expect that my act would not work on me, so her coquetry turned into anger. Liu Qingjing, do you really have to treat me like this? You only have one chance. I threw down a black gold card. The next scene left the onlookers even more stunned. Regardless of everyone being there, Xingman actually started to unbutton her coat. Has Xingman fallen so low to raise funds for Linja? Looking at her tears pouring down. Forget it. I really can't stand such a scene. Let's part on good terms. Ding, system reminder. Host, you must complete the dog abuse plan, or you will be punished. I was startled. How did I get another system? Last time during the lapdog event, I violated the system and was penalized by losing the bidding for the Northern District, causing a huge loss for Liu Corporation that almost didn't survive. Just thinking about it now gives me the chills. At this moment, Xing Man was slowly pulling down the zipper of her suspender dress. But now, I have no interest in Xing Man's outstanding figure at all. After all, she is a girl. My request is indeed a bit too much. Just as I was about to speak, the system suddenly reminded me. Host, if you do not follow the plan, you will be subject to forced punishment. In my mind, I cursed at the system. I, your father, am not a despicable person. What punishment, come on? The next second, a strong current ran through my body. I barely managed to not show any sign of pain, but my forehead was covered with dense beads of sweat. This forced punishment was electrocution. It was really too painful. Damn it, it's Xing Man being abused. Why am I the one being punished? The system was silent for a while. The request you made must have a beginning and an end. You must abuse Xing Man when you see her. If you become soft-hearted and the dog abuse plan fails, you will be subjected to the ultimate punishment. It's really speechless to the extreme. The lapdog event almost bankrupted me, and the dog abuse plan ends with me being electrocuted. Xing Man had taken off everything except her underwear and sat beside me flatteringly. Cheng Jing, are you satisfied now? I quickly stood up. The hair on my body was about to stand up. I felt a bit disgusted instantly. Get lost. Xing Man glared at me fiercely and finally took the black gold card on the table and left. When Xing Man walked to the salesperson next to her, the salesperson rolled her eyes, clicked her tongue, and whispered, shameless. I vaguely remember the salesperson. She was the one who showed me the model houses. Xing Man was already angry, and now she finally found a place to vent and started yelling at the salesperson. For my sake, the salesperson had been very polite to her, but now that I've spoken, she naturally couldn't hold back anymore. Miss, are you buying a villa? If not, please leave. Xing Man looked at me unwillingly, hoping I would change my mind. I pretended not to see it. Instead, I turned around and looked at Ran Ran with a doting gaze. Ran Ran clearly knew I was acting, but she was still immersed in happiness, making me feel a bit guilty. I don't want to be a scumbag. Thank you for today. I'll give you the house. Consider this as compensation for using her. This is a villa worth 80 million. You're giving it to me? I took out a pen and had Ran Ran sign the purchase contract. This amount of money is nothing to me. Ran Ran looked at me suspiciously. Xing Man told me you were a second-generation demolition recipient with assets of only 10 million. Who exactly are you? Could you be that President Liu? I will be at the Rand family's annual meeting next month. You really are? I thought it was just a coincidence that you had the same name. The Rand family's annual gala invited prominent figures from all circles in Kyoto to attend. I received the invitation a week ago. I rarely appear in public, so not many people recognize me. Lin Hua can't make decisions for the Lin family, but Lin Hua won't give up the opportunity to let everyone know Linja. It just depends on whether Linja will show up with Xing Man. Sure enough, I overestimated Xing Man's position in Linja's heart. At the Rand family's annual gala half a month later, Linja didn't bring Xing Man. Instead, he came with Wang Xueting, the only daughter of the Wang family. I originally wanted to find a deserted corner to quietly take a picture and check in, as a way to explain things to Ran Ran. Ran Ran came rushing over from afar and threw herself into my arms, drawing curious glances from many people, who started to whisper. Who is that person? Never seen him, don't know. I reckon he's some kept boy, a gold digger. Linja deliberately raised his voice, attracting more attention. Ran Ran glared at him. He's my boyfriend. What's it to you? I think Miss Ran has probably been deceived. Better than you, still flirting with my best friend yesterday, and now you're bringing Xue Ting as a dance partner. What are your intentions? Miss Ran, you. Slap. A loud slapping sound stunned everyone present. Linja's head was turned from the blow. Linja, how dare you deceive me? Wang Xue Ting looked gentle and weak, but her personality was fierce. Linja didn't dare make a sound after being slapped, only pleading softly, Xue Ting, don't listen to their nonsense. How could I do such a thing? I really didn't expect Linja to look like a whimpering husband in front of Wang Xueting. Indeed, one thing subdues another. I sat by the side, eating my melon seeds and watching the drama. These days, the rumors in the circle are that I'm a gold digger, falling in love with a rich heiress and abandoning my fiancé. Ran Ran wanted to take this opportunity to clarify things for me, but I didn't care. However, Linja wanted to make a big deal out of it. Linja gritted his teeth and glared at me. Lu Qingjing, are you even a man? Do you dare to say something? Okay, since that's the case, then there's no need for me to hold back. I smiled calmly. Why wouldn't I dare? The rumors outside are saying that you abandoned your fiancé to hook up with Miss Ran. You have the face to do it. Don't you have the face to admit it? The sudden shocking revelation stunned all the onlookers. I smiled and said, "Who did I abandon, may I ask?" Linja said, "Of course it's Xing Man." I raised an eyebrow. "Isn't Xing Man your girlfriend?" Linja coldly snorted, "I'm just standing up for a friend. What's your identity in being here today?" I smiled. "The identity of the leader of the Lu group." Wang Li said, "That's right. My assistant. Wang Li attends all the company events for me. They naturally all know Wang Li. With Wang Li vouching for me, no one present dared to doubt it." You really?" Linja was shocked, not daring to look me in the eye, his previous momentum instantly gone. I interrupted him. "What right does a bastard like you have to talk to me here?" I revealed another shocking secret, leaving everyone in attendance stunned. "President Lu, my child is ignorant. Please forgive him." Linja's father, Lin Yi, heard the commotion and came out of the crowd in a panic. I had crossed paths with Lin Yi in business several times, so he naturally knew me. "Linja, say it again. Who am I to you?" "That's right, the person who spoke was Xing Man. I brought her in, so it was more fun to watch the dogs fight." Linja was shocked to see Xing Man, his face looking like he had seen a ghost. "Mrs. Lin was infertile." Linja was an illegitimate son Lin Yi had raised outside. Linja was brought back into the Lin family this year. Although Mrs. Lin was unwilling, she had to tolerate it for the sake of the Lin family's lineage. In order to please Mrs. Lin, Linja promised to secure the North Suburb project. Therefore, he needed a large sum of money and had to rely on Xing Man. Since I cut off Xing Man's financial resources, Linja had no choice but to get on board with Wang Xueting. The situation had developed to this point, and Lin Yi was probably regretting his actions so much that his intestines were turning green. He wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Linja to everyone, but it backfired. The party ended in discord. I had no interest in watching them argue, and turned to leave. The system reminded, "Host, you must complete the dog abuse plan, or you will be punished." "Damn, do I have to argue with them?" The system replied, "It's not impossible." Kid, do you have a lot of questions with a flock of crows flying overhead?" The last electric shock was too painful. I'd rather abuse dogs than go through that again. I roared in the crowd. "Are you guys done yet? Can't you see where you are?" Xing Man let go of Linja's hair, and seeing me, she pounced like a cat in heat seeing a tomcat. I instinctively dodged. Yes, it was a reflex. Xing Man, wearing her stiletto heels, instantly fell flat on her face. I pretended not to see it and turned my head to ask Ran, "Did something just go by?" Ran giggled and covered her mouth. "I didn't see anything." Xing Man seemed unwilling to give up. She got up, tears welling up in her eyes, and walked toward me. Cheng Jing. Hearing Xing Man's deliberately affected voice, I almost threw up. I was wrong before. I was unlucky in love. Cheng Jing, can you forgive me? I chuckled lightly, tilted my head slightly, my eyes laced with sarcasm. People outside all say I'm a kept man. What kind of meal ticket are you that's worth me eating? Cheng Jing, I was just upset and said the wrong thing. You're not a kept man. Can we start over? I put my arm around Ran's shoulder, intentionally saying, "Too bad. Ran is my girlfriend. It doesn't matter if you don't break up. I can be a backup." Damn, I was shocked. How did I not realize before that this woman could stoop so low for money? Where was any of that noble beauty? Maybe this is who she really is. Ran looked at her with a mocking expression. "Do you have any shame in front of all these people?" Xing Man arrogantly replied, "Mind your own business." Everyone present was someone with status. Today, Xing Man had made a name for herself, and also shattered her dream of marrying into a wealthy family. I spoke up. "You want to be my backup? Okay." Ran's shoes are dirty. Squat down and clean them. Compared to her selling Ran to that creep, I didn't make her lick them clean. I'm already being merciful. Xing Man stared at me in disbelief for a long time, and finally scurried away. In the Lu Corporation CEO's office, the assistant handed over a stack of documents. "Mr. Lu, this is the information you asked me to gather on Lin Yi and Linja." After reading the documents, I couldn't help but sigh. There's nothing more poisonous than a husband's heart. "Give this information to Mrs. Lin. Don't let anyone else see it." I handed a portion of the critical evidence to my assistant. This was my trump card for negotiating with Mrs. Lin. The Lin family had government backing, making them my biggest competitor for the North Suburb project. I had received reliable information beforehand that the government would be heavily developing the North Suburb project next year. "Mr. Lu, Xing Man and her mother are causing a scene downstairs at the company, demanding to see you." Xing Man still hasn't given up? I'd heard these past few days that she had gotten back together with Linja. Was she trying to have it both ways? To minimize the impact, I asked my assistant to take them to the security room. I left them cooling their heels for a day before finally arriving. Xing's mother had a look of an Annie trying to set someone up. Son-in-law. Man knows she was wrong. Please forgive her. Chengjin, I know I was wrong. Don't worry. I didn't let Linja touch me. Xingman took out some proof from her bag. I didn't even look at it. Yeah, right, I totally believe you. If it weren't for Ran going for a checkup and coincidentally running into Xingman asking a doctor about repairing her hymen, I might have actually believed it. I really couldn't stand to watch anymore. I turned to leave, but the system panicked. Mandatory punishment warning. Mandatory punishment warning. A powerful electric current shot through my body. Xingman and her mother grabbed onto my shoulder and arm, respectively. Then, the three of us were like grasshoppers on a string. A buzzing current went through our bodies, and the three of us fell to the ground, our limbs twitching. Are you messing with me? Wasn't it supposed to be abusing dogs? How come I'm the one always getting abused? I lay on the ground for a long while before recovering. I smiled at them and said, "Want to do it again?" The two of them, who had been lying on their backs, staring blankly at the ceiling, looked like they'd seen a ghost when they heard my words and frantically fled the security room. As soon as I walked into the parking lot, my assistant rushed up to me. "Mr. Lu, Mrs. Lin wants to meet you." That was faster than I expected. Inside a private vineyard, Mrs. Lin sat on the sofa, her legs crossed, exuding a noble and elegant aura, swirling a glass of red wine in her hand. Mrs. Lin cut right to the chase. "I'm very interested in what Mr. Lu has in his possession. I like dealing with straightforward people. No beating around the bush. It's not impossible. Name your conditions." The Northern Suburbs Project. Why is President Lu so interested in the Northern Suburbs Project? My girlfriend is tired of the city's noise and wants to go somewhere quieter. I plan to build her a manor in the northern suburbs. Madame Lin is not someone to be easily fooled. She naturally wouldn't believe my nonsense. Although she has retired from the business world for many years, I've heard of her heroic deeds since I was a child. She's a woman who doesn't show her emotions. Madame Lin took a sip of red wine and thought for a while before saying, "Miss Ran is fortunate indeed. I want all the information you have." Madame Lin is straightforward. I gestured to my assistant, and he handed over a stack of documents. In business, integrity is very important. I'm not worried about Madame Lin taking the information without acting on it. Half a month later, news broke that Madame Lin was returning to the business world. Li Yi was leaving with nothing, and Lin Zhou was being kicked out of the family. It was simply gratifying. Li Yi was truly a sly old fox. Li Yi was originally a security guard. He saved Madame Lin when she tried to commit suicide for love. Madame Lin gradually emerged from her heartbreak under Li Ye's care and eventually married him. From then on, Li Yi ascended to the peak of his life. In fact, Li Yi already had a family. For wealth and glory, he abandoned his wife who had shared hardships with him. To ensure Lin Zhou would inherit the Lin family fortune, he sold Madame Lin's 8-year-old child to human traffickers. I even suspect that Madame Lin's husband's car accident was orchestrated by Li Yi. But unfortunately, there's no evidence. It's all just speculation. But it doesn't matter. I can add fuel to the fire. Recently, my assistant found the whereabouts of Madame Lin's son. The assistant is still staking out the location in the mountains. I've already submitted the evidence to the police and plan to go to the mountains with them to rescue the trafficked child. 3 days later, in a hospital room, a strong pain hit me, my head feeling like a drill was boring into my skull. It took me a long time to recover and finally open my eyes. Ran, with red eyes, choked out. "Chengjing, you're finally awake." I was confused and called out, Ran. I remembered that during the rescue of the trafficked child, I had a conflict with the local villagers. The head of the traffickers struck me on the back of the head, and then I blacked out. "Chengjing, are you okay?" At this moment, Xingman rushed into the ward anxiously, interrupting my thoughts. She was wearing a white spaghetti strap dress, showcasing her impressive figure to the fullest, just like she did the first time I met her. How can this woman have skin thicker than a wall? I said expressionlessly, "Get out." Xingman put the thermal container she was holding on the bedside table. "Chengjing, I was wrong, please forgive me. This is chicken soup that my mom made. It's very nourishing." Clown. I smashed the thermal container on the ground and said one word at a time, through gritted teeth. "I told you to get out. Being soft on the enemy is being cruel to yourself. I won't be fooled again." Suddenly, without warning, Xingman suddenly knelt down with a thud. Bang! The sound of her knees hitting the floor was quite jarring. Lin Zhe, her backer, had fallen, and now Xingman could only cling to me as her last hope. At this moment, she felt nothing but endless regret and a belly full of bitterness. I sneered. "If only you knew better, why did you do it in the first place? This is all karma." I asked the system in my mind, If she takes the initiative, does that count towards the dog abuse plan? System. As long as you can abuse the goddess, it's all part of the dog abuse plan. That's not bad. I don't have to lift a finger, and I won't break the law or get punished. Who knew Linja would come too? There was also someone lurking outside the ward, seemingly taking pictures. The camera lens was reflecting the light. Did they want to take photos of my scandal and spread it around? I suddenly became interested. Linja angrily pointed at my nose. Lu Qingjing, are you even human? How can you treat a woman who loves you like this? I chuckled and said with sarcasm. You feel sorry for her. Take her back. The person he loves isn't me, it's you. Oh, is that so? Then my assistant released a stack of photos into the air. They fell to the ground like scattered flowers. The photos showed Xingman and Linja together, in bed, in hotels, even in the bathroom, all in high definition and uncensored. And they call that love for me? Linja picked up the photos, his fist clenching, veins popping under his skin. Lu Qingjing. I was too lazy to bother with him. I waved my hand, and 2 bodyguards quickly came in and threw Linja and Xingman out of the ward. Unable to frame me with rumors, Linja took his anger out on Xingman. The two started arguing at the door of the ward and began to fight. I reached out and lifted Ranran's chin, gently wiping away the tears on her cheeks. Silly girl, what are you crying about? Her eyes filled with tears. She said, the doctor said you had a concussion. How could I not worry? I looked at her, not knowing whether to laugh or cry, pulled her off the stool, and sat her on my lap, hugging her tightly. I lowered my head and kissed her, a very forceful one. She was stunned, her wide eyes showing how shocked she was. I smiled indulgently. Are you dumbfounded? Ranran suddenly pushed me away, clearly a little shocked, then smiled shyly. You're the one who's dumb. How about we get married? Ranran's eyes widened in disbelief. What did you say? Let's get married? I was serious. I had already fallen in love with Ranran. Before, I didn't understand why Ranran was so persistent, but now I understand. This feeling was different from falling in love with Xingman. Xingman would only demand things. Ranran made me feel love that was reciprocated, and this kind of love made me sink deeper. Is this how you propose? I'm sorry, I was too sudden. I agree. Ranran blinked her watery eyes, revealing a charming smile, which completely ignited my desire to conquer her. I kissed her neck, her mouth, then her lips, and she slowly started to respond to me. The surrounding air became ambiguous, and the kisses became increasingly gentle. After being discharged from the hospital, I immediately began choosing a place to prepare for the proposal ceremony. I personally supervised every detail from beginning to end. I wanted to give Ranran the most romantic, warm, and unforgettable proposal. After the proposal, I would first take Ranran on a trip around the world. The final destination would be Bali, where we would have our wedding. A week later, under the bright sun on the beach, Ranran accepted my proposal. We walked hand in hand on the beach, planning our beautiful future. It was getting late, and we had promised Ranran's parents we would go back for dinner. Halfway through the drive, suddenly, a license plate-less SUV rushed out of a curve ahead, drifting and blocking our way directly. I stepped on the brakes in panic and quickly turned the steering wheel to the right. Ranran in the passenger seat hit her head directly on the glass, and the pain brought tears to her eyes. Ranran pointed at the SUV and cursed. Can you even drive? I suddenly felt that something was wrong with the car. I wanted to get out and take a look, but coincidentally, the car was stopped on a slope and began to slowly roll downwards. I quickly stepped on the brakes, but there was no sign of slowing down. I frowned and shouted, Ranran, the brakes are out. I panicked for a moment, but quickly reacted, trying my best to stay calm. I couldn't let anything happen to Ranran. I instructed, Ranran, don't be afraid. Make sure your seatbelt is fastened and protect yourself. Ranran held tightly on her seatbelt and nodded vigorously at me. I found my target and twisted the steering wheel. The car crashed into a tree. There was a loud bang and a violent jolt. There was the sound of shattering outside, and I couldn't tell if it was the windshield that was broken or the front of the car that was dented. When I woke up again, I was in the hospital, and only my assistant and I were in the ward. I anxiously asked, where's Ranran? Miss Ran is fine, but her face is disfigured. The worry in my heart finally subsided. Disfigured didn't matter, as long as she was okay. I struggled to sit up, enduring the pain, and said, have they found out who did it? They're still investigating. The car's dashcam was taken. What about the SUV? It's a black car. Just as I suspected. I had a rough idea of who it was. I hadn't announced my proposal to the media. There weren't many people who knew I was proposing that day and which route we would be taking. It was clear that someone had tampered with the brakes beforehand. Whoever did it was very secretive, My driver was the top mechanic in Kyoto. He would check the car every day. Whoever was behind it was skilled enough to ensure he couldn't detect any flaws. They were definitely an expert. Also, that SUV is crucial. The SUV rushes out, and I'll naturally slam on the brakes. The hard braking will cause the brake line to break, creating an accidental death scene. At this moment, Ran, sitting in a wheelchair, was pushed in by her mother. Her face was wrapped in gauze, only leaving her mouth, nose, and eyes exposed. I frowned slightly, feeling distressed, and said, "Wife, who told you to come here? Why aren't you resting properly? I'm disfigured. Do you still want me? Of course I want you, why wouldn't I? Where else can I find such a good wife?" With today's advanced medical technology, disfigurement can be fixed with plastic surgery. Money isn't a problem for me. I hired all the private detectives in Kyoto, working with the police to find evidence. Mrs. Lin, to thank me for saving her son, also secretly put in a lot of effort. Soon, we found the whereabouts of the dashcam in my car. Following the clues, we found the destroyed SUV and also the mastermind behind it. That's right, it was Lin Yi and his father. Lin Yi accidentally fell off a cliff while fleeing. When the police found his remains, he was completely mangled. Lin Zhou was sentenced to life imprisonment for multiple crimes. Spending the rest of his life repenting in jail is good enough. Xing Man doesn't seem to be doing any better either. She's currently selling alcohol at a bar, and I even bumped into her once. She was snuggling in the arms of a fat, greasy old man, laughing and entertaining him. She no longer has her former high and mighty demeanor. Ironic, extremely ironic. Leave a line for others so you can meet again in the future. The end.